Well, so let me ask you this, Fred. I mean, you've written a well-received book about Rudy Giuliani, and so you have some historical perspective on all of this stuff. Are you holding him to a fair standard? I mean, this is a guy who did whatever else. He didn't come up through the clubhouse system, and you've been a fierce critic of those who come up through the political clubhouse system and the shortcomings that they bring with that background.
It turns out there are a lot of routes to failure. I mean, a lot of paths by which you arrive at failure. The key thing is, unlike Sol, very early on, I thought Bloomberg would be problematic. I never had a honeymoon phase because when I listened to him, when I met with him when he was running, I supported Mark Green. I said, my God, he has no grasp of the job. He told me at one point he would be the third senator. He would vastly increase the amount of money we got from Washington. I said, are you? He had an enormously inflated sense of himself. And much of what he did with the job is promote Bloomberg, not improve the city and promote Bloomberg. But he's also done tremendous damage. Fiscally, for instance, the costs Sol talked about, we'll be paying these costs off for decades to come. We're still, indirectly through the state, we're still paying off the Lindsay debt, thanks to a shady deal he engaged in with Pataki. But if I'm a working class person living in New York, I have fewer jobs. There are fewer, overall we have fewer jobs and many fewer manufacturing jobs. So if you're rich, he's made the city more of a luxury city. That's what he said he wanted. It's more of a playground for the rich. Mm-hmm. But if you're a working class person looking for a good income, you have less of a shot to get it. Essentially the kind of lower class, working class jobs that are left now are all service. It's kind of a collective servant class that's supplying those jobs. But the waterfront, the greatness of the Brooklyn waterfront, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm prejudiced, is its access to transportation, its access to manufacturing, and he's forsaken all of that for the sake of luxury housing and some of that beautification is very good. I don't have a problem with that. But don't eliminate all manufacturing. Food, we have a city filled with ethnic immigrants. Food processing is a natural industry here. We've driven it out. Stella D'Oro left recently.
Sure. A number of those companies, in fact, we've reported on. But let's give the mayor his due now. When it comes to, say, public health, we've got life expectancy taking a jump. We've got basically an end to public smoking in New York at this point. These are good things, aren't they?
I like the posting of the calories. But again, we're nibbling at the edges. These are not primary jobs. These are good things. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about what he did in a significant way that's important, he didn't screw up the Giuliani reforms. Mm-hmm. He maintained welfare reform and bringing in Ray Kelly, who's been a tremendous police commissioner. He's continued and improved on, in some ways, the policing. But if we look at those things that Bloomberg initiated himself, it becomes much more problematic.
Mm-hmm. Well, and next to these so-called reforms in public health, we have to also look at the extent to which he used his own money and public money to undermine the democratic fabric of the city. Yes, we're told we get calorie counts and smoking bans in Central Park, but he undermined the process in which the public can engage in debating these issues by basically buying off the entire, with his private money, as we point out in the article, mm-hmm. buying off all the arts groups, all the civic groups, so that the very influential people on the board of directors of these groups don't dare to criticize him.
Here again, both of you and the Manhattan Institute have been the most ferocious critics of the old way of doing business with this unholy alliance, I've heard it described as, between the unions and the civic groups and the activists and the Democratic politicians and the clubhouse system, and how it all sort of works together and has driven the city into a ditch. I mean, that's a short version of what the Manhattan Institute's been saying for 20 years.
But he's developed a cartel with these teachers' unions.
It's continued.
He hasn't taken on the unions.
What you're missing is he continued that system. It's just the flow of money reversed. That system is still deeply in place. He never went after any single entrenched interest. None. He bought. Let's take our most famous provocateur in the city, Al Sharpton. He gave Al, $500,000 last year, according to Juan Gonzalez?
Yes.
And who knows how much money overall. So is that reform? We had less in the way of racial disruptions from Al Sharpton. But that's not reform. It's hard to describe him as a reformer in any significant sense. What he's been is a manager of his own image. And when his own image, concerns of his own image and the needs of the city coincided, that was a good thing. Consider congestion. When he wasn't interested in congestion, a West Side Stadium, which would have just bollocks, that was okay. That was Atlantic Yards is good when he's not concerned about congestion, but Flatbush Avenue will never move when you have a game. On the other hand, when he thinks he's running for national office in 2008, he becomes the Green Mayor, and he wants to institute congestion pricing, and he moves heaven and earth, and he gets people to go along with him because so many people are dependent on him. I just want to tell a short story, and I'll stop. I'm at a dinner. A woman I know, a very nice woman, comes up to me and says, "Why are you so hard on the mayor?" And I go through all the reasons. I said to her, "Well, why do you like the mayor?" She says, "Well, my group received $250,000 last year."
That's a pretty good reason.
I said, "Case closed."
Oh boy, that's a pretty good reason. Listen, that is going to be the last word. I should say that the mayor's office did send me, and it was just too complicated to get into, point by point, in a lot of cases where they say they got productivity returns from the unions in exchange for increasing some of their work rules, so that they got a little bit here from the cops and from the probation officers and from the teachers.
That's like saying about the Mets season last year, but they won the series with Cincinnati.
We've got to go. Thanks so much, Sol Stern, Fred Siegel. We're going to take a little break. I'll be back in a minute with a preview of tomorrow night's program. I'll also dip into our viewer mailbag. Stay with us.